All right, what's up, Raider Nation? It is time to do another video for the Las Vegas Raiders, one of the teams we love talking about on this channel. If you don't know what we do on this channel, we are Lions fans. My name is Craig. Me and my buddy Chris, we started this channel after we had been doing the Lions channel for a couple years because we love the NFL. We love teams that aren't as recognized by the national media or maybe aren't talked about as much, but also teams that we just kind of like what they're doing, if we can be completely honest. Chris always grew up, the Rays were kind of his AFC team, and so we like to talk about them as well. And they've become, honestly, one of my favorite teams to talk about. And they got a guy, UDFA, an undrafted free agent that is already getting high praise and talks about how he's going to definitely make this roster. So we're going to get into just who that is. And then later in the video, we're going to talk about some of the first takeaways from OTAs. So who knows? Maybe we'll actually be talking for a little bit longer on this video. But the first one that I want to talk about getting this high praise, the heaps of praise, is this guy. It is Raiders UDFA Joyner. Joyner, a lot of you are probably not familiar with. Being from the West Coast, like most of you are. See, we live in Michigan. I've seen this guy play. He played at the other U of M, the University of Minnesota. All right? U of M is Michigan, just to be clear. He played 43 games. Look at this. 43 games for the Gophers, and in those 43 games, he had 66 tackles, 35 solo, and a strong 14.5 quarterback sacks. All right? Okay, let's start there, and let's look at some of the intangibles and measurables for this guy. If you know me, you know when we're talking about a rookie, I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to talk about grades that they got in college, because most of us haven't seen them. We're going to talk about kind of the physical characteristics of what they bring that will allow us to look at what a ceiling could be. But otherwise, I'm going to look at this, all right? Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports said this about Joyner: I cannot, for the life of me, comprehend how Joyner went undrafted. Maybe it was the bad agility times, drill times at the combine. No wonder so many prospects opt out. Because on the field, the former Gophers captain played at NFL caliber and has the size needed to live on the edge as a professional. Ladies and gentlemen, he does have the size needed. And when you look at what he is as a physical specimen, the only thing he did poor was that explosion and agility. That's it. His overall speed, fantastic. His size is good, measuring in at over 6 feet 4 inches, 262 pounds. His arm length, for a defensive end, you love to see something above 33. He's at 34. That's a long arm. All right, just fine. Everything checks out as far as it looks. Now, with the shuttle, yes, it was bad. The 3-cone was good. When you watch tape of this guy, he does not look like an undrafted free agent. Not to mention the fact that he was a team captain. These are the kind of guys that you want on your team, guys that are going to be great mentality, love the game of football, natural leaders. Those are the kind of guys that you want to bring in and that can be there. And then when you look at the production, he's a guy who just simply continued to produce at almost the exact same rate every single year. He played in every game, almost every game, every single year. He consistently hurried the quarterback, consistently got quarterback hits. The only difference is in his senior year, he didn't turn him into sacks as many times. He was a good and consistent rusher from the edge. His defense and his run grade and his pass grade are almost identical. His pass rush win rate. In other words, when he gets a one-on-one opportunity, how often does he quickly win that battle? I mean, like immediately. 13.2%. You want to see that number up above 15, but not bad. Still in the top 3/4 of all players in college football. This is a guy that you take as a UDFA. He's a captain guy. You get him coached up right. You get him in a room with, I don't know, you might have a decent defensive end, and he can learn from that person, and all of a sudden you're realizing, like, okay, maybe we found a steal on this one. Maybe we found a steal on this one. All right, let's talk about some OTA stuff. And in order to talk about some OTA stuff, I also want to just have a quick conversation about what brought it there. All right, I want to be really, really clear on this. One of the big things that was coming out of OTA is the rapport that is already being garnered between your coach, your offensive coordinator, by the way, is what I mean by coach, Chip Kelly, and your quarterback, Geno Smith. I don't know if there is a more important relationship in the NFL than offensive coordinator to quarterback. All right, we told you we're Lions fans. I'm going to give you an example of this. Jared Goff starts his career with the LA Rams. It starts off, honestly, pretty good. They go to a Super Bowl, they lose. They get to an NFC championship, they lose. And then it gets really sour. And all of a sudden, that relationship breaks down, and Jared Goff looks like an absolute shell of himself to the point where everybody's like, the NFL has figured him out. He's dead weight. And then the Detroit Lions trade for him. Here's what most people don't know. He comes in and he struggles that first half of the year. Anthony Lynn, you might recognize him, former coach of the Chargers, who you don't like, right? He was the offensive coordinator for the Lions at the time. He gets fired halfway through the year from the offensive coordinator, goes into a run game coordinator position. Ben Johnson moves into a passing game coordinator position. Dan Campbell takes the play calling duties. Jared Goff starts to do this. The next year just keeps getting better. The year after that, which was last year, even better. 2 Pro Bowls in a row, and all of a sudden his numbers are actually better than the man that was traded for, Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff has completely done that because he had a good relationship with his offensive coordinator. Jared Goff often talks about that and how it's like, I know what the next thing he's going to do. I know why he does it. We have such a good relationship. It's been fantastic. Geno Smith and Chip Kelly go back a long time. Chip Kelly actually recruited Geno Smith to Oregon. All right, Geno didn't go, but he recruited him to Oregon. And then, yes, the Raiders went after Matthew Stafford. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you if you thought he was on the trade block? But then you have Chip Kelly, you have Pete Carroll, you got the GM, all right, Spytech, all in a room, and they're talking, and it didn't take them long to realize, and all of them said, Geno's the guy. Let's go get Geno Smith, Chip Kelly included, and they've had a good, really, really good relationship. Listen to this quote. This is nuts to me. All right, this is Geno Smith on Chip Kelly. In many ways, it's a dream come true, Smith said Thursday. I've revered Coach Kelly, and I've always thought he's been an excellent coach throughout his career and a guy who I really wanted to play for. Even back then when I was in high school, it didn't work out that way, but God works in mysterious ways. And here we are today in Las Vegas, being with Chip. You get to know him as a man and know what he's about. He's an outstanding human being, but also has a great mind for football and understands how to motivate guys. I think this is hilarious because he talks about Chip Kelly just like he talks about Pete Carroll. But when you listen to Pete Carroll do an interview or talk or see him at practice and you see Chip Kelly at practice, it's like they are the antithesis of each other. I think that means opposite. They're the opposite, okay? Like they cancel each other out almost. But to hear a quarterback talk about both guys in the same light, that's really cool. I think that's really neat. And what you want with a guy like Geno Smith is Jared Goff. If Geno Smith is in a system that he is comfortable with, if he is with a team that he understands what they are attempting to do, he has proven that he can be a successful to good NFL quarterback. He clearly feels comfortable so far. And the goal for the Raiders here is to keep him comfortable because if they do that, they could go places big time. All right? And then Kelly said the same things about Geno. He said, Geno loves ball. I really lean on him because of his wealth of experience. He's been through different coordinators in this league and some really good ones. I can pick his brain that way and then put together what's the best thing for us going forward. To have a quarterback-offensive coordinator relationship where there is mutual respect and they get to work with each other on what they're comfortable with, that's fantastic. You even went as far as to call Geno Smith a second coach. All right, I thought that was cool. All right, other notes from OTAs that I think are hilarious. First, you have the running back scandal. Ashton Jeanty, oh my goodness, he's bending his knees, right? Like, by the way, you don't need to make him change his stance. It's working out pretty well for Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. Now, they're different type of running backs. Ashton Jeanty is about contact balance. He is about getting through there, and Jahmyr Gibbs is just an absolute missile, right? I mean, he is just a burst of speed. But Kelly talked about how good, and he just said, as far as his contact balance, this young, coming into the league, he said it's the best he's ever seen. And so, like, things are going really, really well there. But also, Chip Kelly did not take responsibility for changing Ashton Jeanty's stance. He said it's Dylan McCullough, our running back coach. He talked to him about that. I don't mess with stances. I'm not in charge of stances as offensive coordinator. I thought that was hilarious. All right, good news, bad news. Malcolm Kuntz is back at practice. All right? No, he's not doing all the things. He's primarily limited to individual drills. But something that had him miss all of last year with this ACL, the fact that he's back, he is a difference maker on this defense. We always talk about who's the man opposite the great Max Crosby. You need to have someone that can go on the other side of the ball and isn't a void on that side. That needs to be able to win one-on-one matchups. A healthy Malcolm Kuntz absolutely can be that person for you. And not as great news, Christian Wilkins did not practice. He continues to rehab from that Jones fracture. It's unlikely he'll make an appearance before training camp, but I think they still think he'll be back before then. Yep. Jeremy Chin and Adam Butler Jr. did not practice. We don't know why. Yeah, but there you go. That's just kind of a thing there. And then something to look forward to. Who is the nickel? So far in OTAs, that slot corner, that nickel back position, they've been doing a lot of five-man fronts to kind of try and hide it. And when they do bring in a fifth defensive back, it's usually a safety coming in to play the nickel position, something that they're absolutely going to have to figure out. As far as the other players, look, not a lot you can tell offense and defensive line. It's just about communication at this point, honestly. It's about communication at this point. So anyways, hope you're enjoying the content here. Hit that subscribe button, especially if you've listened. It's almost 13 minutes long. Love talking Raiders football and would love to keep doing videos on them. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.